Narendra Modi there at the Adampur Air Base, saluting India's forces for Operation Sindoor, letting the world know that it won't be business as usual with India anymore, especially when it comes to terror and terrorism that is brewed in Pakistan. Prime Minister Modi there making it very clear that India will not bow down to threats of nuclear arms. Prime Minister Modi also hailing India's armed forces, especially the Air Force, for the precision with which they were able to conduct Operation Sindoor. The airmen at the Adampur Air Base ecstatic with the arrival of the Prime Minister, first earlier in the day and now with the address. We're getting you the latest from the Adampur Air Base, where Prime Minister Modi has visited, met all the airmen over there, the air warriors over there, and interacted with them and finally delivered his address, which concluded just moments ago. Let's quickly listen in to that address again.
इस जय घोष की ताकत अभी अभी दुनिया ने देखी है। भारत माता की जय यह सिर्फ उद्घोष नहीं है, ये देश के हर उस सैनिक की शपथ है जो मां भारती की मान मर्यादा के लिए जान की बाजी लगा देता है। ये देश के हर उस नागरिक की आवाज है जो देश के लिए जीना चाहता है, कुछ कर गुजरना चाहता है। भारत माता की जय मैदान में भी गूंजती है और मिशन में भी। जब भारत के सैनिक मां भारती की जय बोलते हैं तो दुश्मन के कलेजे कांप जाते हैं। जब हमारे ड्रोन दुश्मन के किले की दीवारों को ढहा देते हैं, जब हमारी मिसाइलें सनसनाती हुई निशाने पर पहुंचती हैं तो दुश्मन को सुनाई देता है भारत माता की जय। जब रात के अंधेरे में भी जब हम सूरज उगा देते हैं तो दुश्मन को दिखाई देता है भारत माता की जय। जब हमारी फौजें न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल की धमकी की हवा निकाल देती है तो आकाश से पाताल तक एक ही बात गूंजती है, भारत माता की जय। मैं वीरों की इस धरती से आज एयरफोर्स, नेवी और आर्मी के सभी जाबाजों, बीएसएफ के अपने शूरवीरों को सैल्यूट करता हूं। भारत बुद्ध की भी धरती है और गुरु गोविंद सिंह जी की भी धरती है। गुरु गोविंद सिंह जी ने कहा था, 1.25 लाख से एक लड़ाऊं, चिड़ियन ते मैं बात तुड़ाऊं, तबे गुरु गोविंद सिंह नाम कहाऊं। अधम के नाश और धर्म की स्थापना के लिए शस्त्र उठाना, ये हमारी परंपरा है। जब हमारी बहनों, बेटियों का सिंदूर छीना गया, तो हमने आतंकियों के फन को उनके घर में घुस के कुचल दिया।
भारत माता की जय! भारत माता की जय! भारत माता की जय!
Right, those were some of the highlights of the speech, the address that Prime Minister Modi delivered at the Adampur Air Base, with the forces with high josh responding to that inspiring speech. We have Colonel Anurag Shukla, defense expert, and Adit Kothari, geopolitics and foreign affairs expert, now joining us on the broadcast. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us. Colonel Anurag Shukla, anybody, you don't have to be, related to the forces or from the forces, but when you see that speech and the kind of response that the airmen and the air warriors were giving to that, it's clear as to the importance of the Prime Minister himself being over there on ground at the Adampur Air Base, and he was delivering a message to both the people, the air warriors at the Adampur Air Base, and to the people of India and to the international community as well, isn't it, Colonel Anurag Shukla?
Definitely. Look at the smile on the faces of each and every soldier standing there. Look at the josh in their voice, the way they rejuvenate the presence of the Prime Minister of India on their base. See, it is the reflection of the Pak propaganda also. For the last 2-3 days, Pakistan has been propagating that we have hit Adampur and we have destroyed S-400 and all, not think they were disclosing to the world and propagating wrongly. So Prime Minister chose this airfield to go and stand in front of the same airfield and the S-400 so that the world can see the best thing which a nation can say, the most highest leader standing in front of the same airport and airfield, where in front of the same equipment for which the Pakistan is sending a propaganda, and we as a citizen feel proud of the same. Today when we see the Adampur airfield here, then we would like to thank each and every soldier standing there who defended us for the last 4 or 5 days. They were not sleeping for day and night, and they stood in front as our shield to each and every citizen. So definitely proud movement for the soldier and proud movement for the political class, and the best thing is for the citizen of India, who thanks to the armed forces and Air Force in particular.
Right, stay with us, Colonel Anurag Shukla. Let me take this across to Adit Kothari. One is, delivering that message to the armed forces that, Prime Minister Modi himself salutes the armed forces, all three armed forces. He wasn't just talking about the Air Force. He was standing at the Adampur Air Base, but he saluted the Air Force, the Navy, and the Army. And of course, he wanted to talk in great detail about the importance of Operation Sindoor and what it means for India. It is an inflection point as far as India's, the way India is dealing with terror and terrorists is concerned, and he's making that very, very clear. Went on to say India will not bow down to nuclear threats from Pakistan. Any future terror attacks, there will be befitting replies like Operation Sindoor. So Operation Sindoor is, in a sense, is inaugurated, India's response going forward, and also to set the record straight once and for all when the international community is watching this. Right behind Prime Minister Modi is the S-400 air defense system. And that air defense system that Pakistan claimed to have just destroyed. And he's at the Adampur air base, which Pakistan claimed to have attacked and caused great damage to. So, one is showing pictures and visuals of what we've been talking about, Pakistan's collusion with the army. We've been showing visuals of that. But this is important, because this lets the world community, the international community, know, don't believe any of what is coming from Pakistan when it comes to what happened with Operation Sindoor and its aftermath.
Absolutely, Krishna. I think this was absolutely high-level trolling. I mean, the fact that the S-400s were in the background and Prime Minister Modi was standing there, it basically was to dismantle the Pakistani false narratives and the false propaganda machinery that was being propagated by the DGISPR. So I think it was quite evident that this was targeted to the Pakistani military and the establishment, that you've got to stop your false propaganda because we're there to dismantle it. We do not want to humiliate you any further in front of your people. So you walk away with your heads heads held high before we get any nastier. I think this new Modi doctrine is going to be a tectonic shift in India's response to Pakistan. in its asymmetrical warfare against India, which it's sort of deployed ever since their humiliating defeat in 1971, where they're using asymmetrical warfare, which is a fancy term for terrorism, to bleed India with 1,000 cuts and cause us immense amount of pain and agony. So now India has taken a hard stance, and Prime Minister Modi has been very categorical about the fact that there will be no differentiation made between the LOC and the international border while conducting any sort of retaliatory strikes. So if you come into our domain, if you come into our borders and you inflict pain, we are going to ensure that disproportionate amount of pain is actually caused to you. Then again, India is also now coming to a point where the differentiation between the terrorists and those who provide them with cover fire, and my diatribe is towards the military establishment in Pakistan, that is not going to be held any longer. We are going to treat you like the same, because ultimately it is the Pakistani regime, the Pakistani establishment, which is going to be providing all of the ammunitions, all of the infrastructure, all of the morale boost to these terrorists. So now we've taken a hard stance that no longer are we going to differentiate between those two. We will treat you both as the same. Our first objective is going to be to take out the foot soldiers, like we did in the on May 7th when we took out those 9 strikes. After the retaliation from the Pakistani side, the 11 military installations and the air bases that we went after is going to be the next set of the next set of objectives that we will look to achieve, Krishna.
Right, Colonel Anurag Shukla, I really wanted to help us understand what is it like when be it the Air Force or the military or the Navy, what happens when the Prime Minister himself shows up where your place of work, so to speak, and delivers a message like that. How much does it mean to the forces on the ground? Because this is a very important moment. Because technically speaking, we're still on high alert, right? I mean, and right in the middle of that, you have the Prime Minister coming and delivering a message, and you can see the emotional outpouring of the forces over there.
Yes, definitely, it means a lot to armed forces when their Prime Minister himself lands in the field of work, where the outpost, I will call it the outpost because it is next to the Pakistan border.
Yeah.
And definitely we are proud of having such a high leader like Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. Like, he has been spending every Diwali with the forces for last 10 years as I've been, or 11 years I've been seeing it. So he is a man with the forces and is always standing. And I also like to inform that whatever the acquisition we have done in last 10 years, those acquisition in terms of military hardware, these are the one which he got it integrated to all tri services, and today they have performed. So it was a vision well sort of at least a decade back, and they were actually procured on ground and integrated in field like situation. So today definitely the result is seen what we have done in last 5 days. Not a single drone, not a single missile was able to penetrate our air defense system. So
Right.
this was a hard decision which was taken quite long back, and procurement and followed by training. And today the strong forces which you see, it is the accumulated efforts of everybody in terms of government machinery, forces and citizens who paid taxes to get this heavy equipment purchased.
Absolutely. Adit Kotari, he had taken time out to speak about in this address is to speak about the made in India Akash missile, and the fact that we have the S-400 missile defense system. He's clearly speaking about a strategy that has been in the works for a very long time, and it has finally paid off. And it's important to note the fact that if you want a payoff like this, that's the kind of vision that you need. That's the kind of futuristic thinking that you need, that you will need this and this and this hardware, so that when the time comes, we are ready to strike and strike hard.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, on this day, we must remember Mr. Parikar, because, he was the man who sort of led this mission, led this vision to sort of ensure that, India can become both Atmanirbhar and self-sufficient in a certain way to defend our borders and defend ourselves. So all of these anti-missile systems that we see in place, and the way that they actually deflected and neutralized the Pakistani attacks, we should thank that man. And of course, under the leadership of Mr. Modi himself. Having said that, I think Mr. Modi has categorically spelled out that, things like blood and water cannot flow together. So Indus Water Treaty was one of those issues which he spoke about, where, we had exchanged the lion's share of water from our side. 80% of the water was going into Pakistan, and we basically traded water for peace in the 1960s. But that's no longer going to stand anymore. So, if you're going to be inflicting pain to us, if you're going to be, using asymmetrical warfare against us, we are definitely going to choke you with water. There are going to be dire consequences. And that is the way this new regime, this new India, is going to fend off any Pakistani threat.
Kothari and Colonel Anurag Shukla, stay with us. Let's listen to an excerpt of that address in which Prime Minister Modi spoke about the Made in India Akash missile and our S-400 missile defense system.
पाकिस्तान के ड्रोन, उसके यूएवी, पाकिस्तान के एयरक्राफ्ट और उसकी मिसाइलें हमारे सशक्त एयर डिफेंस के सामने सबके सब ढेर हो गए। मैं देश के सभी एयरबेस से जुड़ी लीडरशिप की, भारतीय वायुसेना के हर एयर वॉरियर की हृदय से सराहना करता हूं। आपने वाकई बहुत शानदार काम किया है।
Right, Colonel Anurag Shukla, that has been, the biggest headline possible as far as Operation Sindoor and the aftermath of Operation Sindoor is concerned. Our ability and the way we have shown that not a single missile, aircraft, drone has managed to penetrate into Indian territory. Anything that came into Indian territory was shot down or taken down. And that is a lesson. He's specifically spoken to the fact that Operation Sindoor will serve as an inspiration, prerana, as it's called, for current and future generations. Because they will all remember Operation Sindoor and the decisiveness with which we struck Pakistan. And that is a new normal as far as India is concerned.
Definitely, this operation has proved many things to the world. For example, we were not just against Pakistan's equipment, we were against Turkey's drone and Chinese hardware and many other combinations like old American hardware which was settled down with the Pakistani forces. So we have been able to not only destroy Pakistan air defense, which has the footprints of China and later added by the Turkish drones. So our technology is much beyond, that is one thing. Second, man behind the machine. As always said, that it is not the machine which is fighting, it is the man. So our morale of each and every man was very, very high. If you see, India is the world's largest volunteer army. People have volunteered to join. It is not there like in Pakistan army, I called them as a businessman in uniform because they have been involved in each and every business the country is doing and they are doing something else other than the professional job. So we have proved not today, even if you go back to 2019 Balakot when we brought down F-16 by just M21. So that was a ability our pilots have and our Air Force are so advanced in their training and in their integration with the machine. So definitely everything comes to integrate with the machine and perform on the right time at right place.
Stay with us. We are understanding Operation Sindoor better and better with what intent that India went with, and it's not a one-off. Here is Prime Minister Modi. The symbolism is not lost on anybody when it's called Operation Sindoor, when it came in the aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack. Let's listen to what Prime Minister Modi had to say on Operation Sindoor.
जब हमारी बहनों, बेटियों का सिंदूर छीना गया, तो हमने आतंकियों के फन को उनके घर में घुस के कुचल दिया।
भारत माता की जय! भारत माता की जय! भारत माता की जय!
That's a powerful message, isn't it, Adit Kothari? He's talking about Sindoor and the intent with which we went. We entered their terror bases and hit them in their homes, to translate roughly what he said in Hindi. But what it also means is he's also speaking about, going forward about Operation Sindoor and, where it features in the other scheme of things. And also that sends out a message to the international community. Don't ask us anything anymore. If there is another terror attack, there will be no questions asked. Operation Sindoor 2.0, 3.0s and 4.0s will continue. Because, the tolerance limit is over and done with. as far as Pakistan-sponsored terror attacks on Indian soil is concerned. And the international this is a message to the international community to say, don't ask us the next time around. Don't tell us what to do the next time around. You saw what happened. Nobody is going to come to our rescue except for ourselves. And we did what we had to do. This was not an aggressive move. This was, in fact, a response to what we've been dealing with for decades. Please unmute yourself, Adit.
Sorry. Just to put it out as a perspective for your viewers, there were 3 decades of, vast kind of terrorist attacks that India had to endure where nothing would have happened. We presented the international community and the Pakistanis with dossiers, with evidences, with voice samples, with, all of the plethora of evidences that there could be. So much so in Pathankot, when the Pathankot attacks actually happened, we gave access to our air bases to the Pakistanis, which is unprecedented. This has never been done. We gave them all of the evidences, and all of those evidences, resulted in nothing. 26/11 happened. Dossiers were presented to the United Nations, to the United States, to the world, to the Five Eyes, and to Pakistan. Again, absolutely nothing. The perpetrators were sitting safe in Pakistan. They were being protected and patronized by the Pakistani establishment and the polity. And the worst of it all, the Pakistani people and the civilian were actually giving validation to the army and to those perpetrators. So that is the worst for me. So now, this is an era of change. And I think the Prime Minister has made it categorically clear that, going forward, if there is indulgence of this sort, an act of terror, the onus is not on us anymore to provide evidences. We are just going to act, and we will act with complete incisiveness and complete, decision. So much water has now flown under the water that our threshold is now completely gone, Krishna. So I don't think, India is going to hold back. And like Prime Minister Modi basically said, this operation is a pause. This is not the end of the Operation Sindoor. So Operation Sindoor will continue as a consequence. And, until we've dismantled the Pakistani, terror mechanism that exists within that state, we will not stop. We will be relentless. Krishna.
Colonel Anurag Shukla, yes, it's a very clear point that has been made and reiterated time and again. We will strike Pakistani terror bases, and only terror bases, because that's the intent over here. But the fact of the matter is that he's also spoken in this address about how Pakistan used civilian aircraft, conspired and used civilian aircraft as cover. And yet, India's Indian Air Force ensured that there was no harm, not even remotely, to any civilian aircraft that could be in the middle of the crossfire. That's a very important point that is made as well.
Definitely, one way it is of boosting our technical supremacy. See, we were being able to hit the target at our point, at our choice. So accuracy was such a high that we didn't did any collateral damage. And if you see, each and every strike was pinpoint based to the terror organization and installation. And world has seen this now. We don't have to give any proof that terrorists are there or not. World has seen themselves, and our strike did not even did a slightest collateral damage around the area. So that is what the technology is all about, and that is what the world has to say. Today we don't have to go back and give the evidence to the people and voice samples and everything. It is not required anymore. The world has seen, world has always acknowledged, and today is the time to act as we have brought out. And if you can see today, just now another encounter has taken place in Sofia and JNK. We have brought down 3 more homegrown militants. So our fight is still on. Operation Sindoor is still on, and we have been fighting 2-front war, one inside the territory and one across the territory. But the perpetrator of these terror attacks need to be brought to the justice. At the same time, world should know, world should understand and acknowledge the presence of terrorists in the Pakistan territory, which they have been nurturing for quite a long time.